Come on over, Reed. We continue to follow the latest, especially with holidays right around the corner. Earlier this week, air traffic control towers in Tennessee and Burbank went unmanned at 1.4 hours, leading to some heavy delays.
Air traffic control workers who have not called in sick are now having to work without pay in some circumstances. The Federal Aviation Administration says those sick calls are now leading to tower shortages.
So on Wednesday, labor unions representing government and transportation workers called for an end to the shutdown. They say the uncertainty is leading to a safety concern in the skies. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy spoke with CNN. He had a very strong message about the situation.
We're having maybe a bit of a rebellion by air traffic controllers caused by the shutdown. But my message to them, they work for me. They got to go to work, show up, control the airspace, and eventually you're going to get paid.
So let's talk about this. This is an important conversation because it speaks to the health and safety of the traveling public. Joel Ortiz is the Western Pacific Regional Vice President of the Air Traffic Control Union. First off, what's your reaction to those words by the Transportation Secretary?
You know, I would say, because you mentioned Burbank Tower, for example, when you open up the segment, a lot of these situations, all these staffing shortages existed long before the government shut down. Burbank Tower right now has 15 out of 24 certified controllers. Out of those 15, 2 of them don't have medical, so it's actually 13 of 24. So that shift in particular, when they started that shift before anybody called in sick, there were already 3 out of 5 controllers down 40%. So you take 1 or 2 sick outs, then suddenly you don't have any more controllers. And it wasn't that there wasn't any controllers in the tower that evening. They just didn't have any controllers that were certified on the position. It's called the local control position, and you can't operate the tower fully without somebody certified on that position. So they did have controllers there. They just weren't certified on the positions. And when they started that shift, they were down 40% of certified controllers that they needed to run that shift. So the staffing shortages are something we've been talking about for quite a while. It's just being exacerbated by the shutdown and a little more heightened scrutiny because we're in a shutdown right now as well.
Well, Joe, organized job actions like strikes or sick outs are prohibited by federal law. So what is behind the uptick in sick calls then? Are there staffing like you said, I know with the staffing shortages at airports, but are you seeing an increase of that because of what's happening?
So we get a report every day where staffing triggers are what happened when they determine a facility doesn't have the appropriate amount of air traffic controllers, and then they'll put in the mitigations for the traffic flying into whatever respective airport they were going into. If there's a shortage, then we're going to increase miles and trail where, you know, you get a plane every 10 miles as opposed to every 3 miles. So there's a bunch of different things you do when there's a staffing shortage. But when I look at the report that comes out every morning, it's very similar to what we saw before the government shut down. I wouldn't necessarily, there's an uptick in some degrees, there may be, but not enough of an uptick that's going to have an impact to the flying public that did not exist previously.
All right, so some frustration in your voice. It's easy to get in the weeds. We have about 20 seconds left. The bottom line, if I'm flying right now and I'm hearing about sick outs in the control tower, am I safe? Am I safe to put my kids on a plane?
I would reassure everybody that the air traffic controllers are going to remain professional, remain vigilant, and do the job they're hired to do and ensure everybody gets to point A to point B safely and efficiently.
Joel Ortiz, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Now taking a live look outside.